are unfounded and that you should not be worried, but I actually think that it is something to be concerned about. So, you know, I'm sure you guys have read many of the articles, a lot of which are very meant to scare you, because that's what news does, right? And they oftentimes make it really seem like, you know, I have heart palpitations reading them, because despite the fact that I'm a realtor, and as the market rises, in some ways, it actually makes my job a lot easier, because I get an automatic pay raise every time the market rises, right? Also, oddly enough, even though buyers always tell you that they want a deal and they don't want to compete, when the market is soft, which it just was, by the way.
At the end of the last year.
Yeah, it really softened. I mean, the market went down, depending on the neighborhood, 10 to 20% in the fall, right? And what buyers were doing, they were scared to death. They were like, oh my God, the market's going to keep going down. I don't want to buy. And you're like, okay, this is a really good time to buy. And there's like these houses that are sitting there waiting to get deals, and they didn't want to buy. So when buyers feel really good is when somebody else wants to buy too. So if you have, you know, if you're competing against 10 other offers, you're like, well, this must be a good decision because there's 10 other people willing to make the same decision. So it provides a lot of certainty to buyers when markets are going up. So buyers actually feel better buying, and they even, in some cases, I think they question less their purchase, because they're like, they know that they had to compete. Whereas if there was no one else, I think a lot of times they wonder, like, could I have got it a little bit less? Right? So, you know, for whatever it's worth, that's like some psychology that happens, and I see it happen constantly throughout market cycles. Because believe it or not, even though, thank you, Michael, for pulling this up, even though it looks like
you got a slow load there.
well, I'll show you when this comes up, but it looks like the market's only going like up, down, up, down, up, down. If you zoom in on the market, it's actually going up and down all the time, which is why it's really important to work with a team that's doing a lot of transactions. So, you know, at any given point, like, you know, we're going to do like 90 transactions this year. So we do at least a transaction a week. So we know like what just happened. And because we have 3 people on the team that are all dealing with offers, we just have a lot of data about what's going on. And so whenever it is like the market just shifted one way or another, we're able to be like, well, it's speeding up, or well, it's slowing. And so this is how we should be acting on this particular property. So the like up, down, it basically enables you, if you're doing enough transactions, to really take advantage of the downs and the ups, right? I think someone talked about, are we at the top? So everyone always feels like for the last 10 years, everybody thought it was the top. So no matter when you buy, so this is 2018. Can you guys see that? I can send these out separately too. But basically, you know, this starts at 1984 and goes all the way up to 2018. And this doesn't show the recent correction, but it actually does go back down at the end of 2018. And what you're seeing here is, you know, this is very, like, I like to look at, like, what happened in the last fall, right? And so in 2008, you know, basically what you had was a 27% decrease in price. That's citywide San Francisco. That's it. And guess what these increases are here? Almost 20% a year. So if you're waiting for the next fall so you can get a 27% decrease, and by the way, in neighborhoods like Pack Heights or Russian Hill or Noe Valley, it was very, very minimal. It wasn't 27%. That 27% is like pulled from some neighborhoods like the Bayview that dropped dramatically. You know, the A neighborhoods did not drop dramatically. And the other interesting thing here to note is that we didn't really have a lot of tech in the city in 2008. So if you ask a realtor down in Palo Alto to pull for you the market charts for what was going on in 2008 there, they hardly saw any drop. So I don't actually think, so like this past drop that we had of 10 to 20% depending on the neighborhood, that might have been our correction. you never know when you're in a correction until you can like really step back and look at it like this. But if you consider, 2008, the sky was falling, right? Like, it was a crazy, crazy time. And like, we definitely, the last one, I don't know, like, it's like, yes, we had the worst, December in the stock market since the Great Depression, but there wasn't like some, event that was like making everything go crazy. So, I cannot predict the future, but I do think that we are more and more in kind of an insular market that is more like Palo Alto than ever. So I think waiting is not a really great thing to do. And I do think as you look at this, like here, like from here to here, these are 20% rises in the market. So, if you're waiting 1 year and then it goes up 20, 40, and I have clients like this that I met, and they're like, oh, I don't want to buy. And I'm like, great, I don't want to rush you. Call me when you're ready. And like 2.5 years later, they're like, oh my God, I was looking at a $1.5 million house, and now I see the same house just sold for 2.5, and they're really mad. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. We can't go back, right? But they really were sure that it was the top of the market. So what I would caution you is I just always say just buy and sell in the same market. That's the best thing to do, because if you're at the top and you sell and you buy at the top, you're protected. But if you sell and then the market goes down, then or the market continues to go up and you're waiting, can you get back in? Because the good thing for you is that you actually, I don't think actually everyone in this room did get leveraged in, right? So you are leveraged in. So you have that equity that you've been building since you bought that, but you could quickly lose it if the market gets away from you, right? So generally it's like you cannot time the market. So if you sold when it was down and then you buy when it's down, that's great. But if you sell when it's up and you buy when it's up, it's also fine, right? Where it's not fine is if you miss it, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh no, now I can't even buy what I just sold. There was an article in the Atlantic that was published last Saturday, and it created a lot of stir. There were some interesting things about it. I think it had a lot of buyer there was a lot. First of all, it was written, the information was drawn from a realtor who's a relatively new realtor, and I think he had some really good ideas about where to pull information from title companies and try to put them together with tech companies in order to predict
I see that one.
So he was predicting only this many Uber buyers bought in the last couple of years, so there's this many more that are going to buy when Uber goes IPO, so this is the crazy thing that we need to be worried about. And he did it for all the companies. Unfortunately, it was based on email addresses, which a lot of the wealth in San Francisco is older, and so they don't necessarily have LinkedIn accounts, right? They just have a lot of property. So those people were not factored in. So it made it look like, according to this data, the way they pulled it, that 50% of the buyers in San Francisco are tech, and here's all the companies that still have people ready to buy, which is just kind of interesting to see that point. But the other thing it said was that there was going to, the average price for a home in San Francisco was going to be $5 million in the next few years. Currently it's 1.4. That would mean that we had an appreciation of 437%, I think was the number when I figured it out. And the biggest appreciation that we've seen in an upward cycle was 150. So I don't think that we are going to have an average price point of $5 million in the next couple of years. So reading stuff like that scares people for the wrong reasons, So I do think it's the Atlantic is a reputable paper. You think that what you're reading there is correct, but you do need to be able to sift, and we want to be that resource for you to always call us and be is this BS or is it true? So, but the thing with the tech situation is this. Right now on the market, there's 327 homes in all of San Francisco. So according to another article, which, even if it's inaccurate, it doesn't matter, but it's 10,000 people that are going to be new millionaires. So let's say that's off by half, right? That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter if it's accurate. Even if we had 500 new buyers in the market, it would change the market dramatically. So there is just no way, no how, that these IPOs are not going to change the market dramatically. So waiting, and I hear buyers say all the time, I'm not in a hurry. Great. You're going to be losing the amount of house that you can buy and paying a lot more money because you're not in a hurry, but I won't pressure you, right? So just being aware, like not being in a hurry. I feel like part of what people are saying when they're not in a hurry is they're saying to me, like, don't be a salesperson and don't pressure me. No problem. But my job is also to educate you on the past and what I see as the future. I don't have a crystal ball, but based on the knowledge that I have of being in this world every day, like this is what I see could happen. And then you guys are all very intelligent people. Yes.
So then, to say those 500 people buy all the houses that are there, and then for some time there's just no inventory. I think you had mentioned that people do move out of the city for several reasons. Their kids grow up, their needs change. So is this just a temporary problem after all the IPOs, and will the market regulate itself again when there's more new inventory and all the people who made the cash already have houses?
So it's not going to be 500 people. Like even if it's cut in half, it'll be 5,000. And I don't think they're all going to buy like in 1 month. I think it's going to trickle slowly. So I think we're going to see like a solid 2 years of really solid appreciation in San Francisco. And then, we don't what creates these different fluctuations. They're all something different, right? Like there could be a war, or China completely melts down, or Trump blows up something. I don't know, right? But there'll be something. Will be. There's always something catastrophic that happens that affects the market. And then some of these IPOs that are supposed to be big, maybe they'll just be bust, right?
Yes.
I
had to do it.
So, also when Facebook went IPO, they totally tanked, and then, they regulated as everybody pulled out, and then it, now I wish I would have bought a lot of Facebook stock whenever it was down. So I think even if some of them don't, San Francisco is 7 by 7, right? There's just only so much inventory. And even without the IPOs, if we removed that situation, there's still enough people that need to buy that I just don't think we're going to have this insane drop. Also, when you were talking, it reminded me that, what is happening, and I have had this from several of my sellers, is that people just don't want to sell right now. Because they feel very confident, especially my sellers in tech. They're just look, I've been there, I know this money's coming, and I will wait a year, and you can sell my house then, because I know I'm going to sell it for way more.
We were the only ones selling that.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were like, why? I know.
Yeah.
Because we have another purpose too. Yeah.
So, it is always, it's a gamble either way. So when the market is high and you're getting a good number, I would just say get into something else at that time, right? When sellers are asking me, the sellers, we did just pull a property off the market, but they were not getting what they wanted, and they said exactly that. And I didn't say to them, you're crazy, you should sell now so that I can hurry up and get my commission, right? I was like, I can't argue with you. I'd love to sell it for you when you're ready. But it could be, and I would never say this to somebody who wanted to do that, but it could be that something does happen before then, and they could lose something, but they know that, right? So they're going in eyes wide open, and I'm not going to be the salesperson realtor that's going to be pushing that scare tactic on them to try to make them sell in this market. So I think we're going to continue to see an inventory crunch. We might start to see things. It's not that. The inventory crunch, it feels bad, but actually if you look at last year's numbers, it's actually not that much different. We're off on inventory by less than 10%.
Couple of questions on the inventory.
Yes.
High level, you may or may not have this stat. What percentage of the inventory that comes available in general is from homeowner selling versus, investor, developer, whatever?
Oh gosh. I don't even think I can pull that stat for you easily. But so this is going to be an educated guess.
Yes, anecdotal.
I would say it's 10%. Yeah.
10% is
the developer.
Is the developer.
Sorry. So it's not, developing in San Francisco is a very risky business. I think one of the questions that you asked was, if I buy something that needs work, can I get a deal? And I think you were kind of alluding to the fact that you were thinking you were getting different prices for a property that needed a lot of work versus one that didn't. what I would say is, in my experience, a lot of times, like the property that needs a ton of work, like it could sell for the same amount as something that, not that like was just done by a developer, but something that was like just done by a homeowner for themselves. Like if it's competitive enough, if the realtor priced it low enough and priced it well, then a lot of times it'll be there. And construction right now is horrendous. This year is the first time that I'm just recommending to people, just don't even think about it.
Don't think about renovation.
Yes. Like there are no contractors available, and the prices are insane. Because like also contractors can afford to live here. Like painters can afford to live here. So like we're not getting more of them because people are suddenly getting more money and wanting to renovate things, and then we had like all the fires in Napa and all of that pulling on all of the construction. And then I think contractors are just smart enough to realize, like, when people are deciding whether or not to do construction, they're looking at the housing market. If the housing market has gone up, they're like, should I stay or should I go? Can I buy something better for like the same or less? And contractors are staying with those numbers. And if you don't, like, if you're not seasoned, like the developers, they have their people and they've figured it out. But for most people, like, you're gonna end up paying way more than you would have if you just bought something that was done.
So
and go through the pain and suffering.
On that market piece, so you believe that softness, that the market has recovered from the fall softness?
I believe that we are in the midst of a dramatic recovery based on what Michael,
absolutely. Like as a March, and that's what's tricky right now is, like, if you're relying on comms, it's a snapshot of a slower market, and so it goes back to, like, what we know is in contract, because again, we knew that in March, and that's why we're able to still get people in, because we knew the true state of the market, not the snapshot of the slower market.
So that's where you need to, I mean, we're in contract on Chattanooga right now. There was 15 offers on it. And the number that it went for was much higher than what I anticipated. We just sold a house on Vicente. We competed again against 15 offers. Our clients paid $800,000 over asking to win, and it was just to match the other offer. We weren't like overshooting. Same thing, actually, the Chattanooga one, we were at lower than the top offer because the top offer seemed nervous. So it's really competitive out there on some properties. Now there's some properties like the one that I pulled off that are still, like, for whatever reason, and this happens in every market, that if you track something that's been on the market for 21 days, probably you can get a deal on it, right? So like, we're happy to track those things for you and just be like, and so if you're out and you're looking every week, and then if you look at like at or a little bit above your price point, and then you see something that you saw that was a little bit high, like, I don't want to quite reach there, but then 21 days later it's still on the market, more than likely we can go in and grab it for you at a deal. Because what realtors on the listing side are advising their clients is, once we hit that, it's like, we either take an offer on the first week or the second week. Like, first week if it seems like definitely definitely for sure that we're going to get a very, very high offer. If not, we'll move into the second week to just, like, that's a good amount of time to show a property in San Francisco. You should have all the buyers that are out there in to see it and able to get it. And then on that second week, if you didn't get offers, and then you go to a third week and you still don't have offers, you're probably in the wrong price.
I'm just curious because I saw one posting on Facebook, the Richland Avenue in Bernal Heights, like the 4 million one. How is that doing now? Is it getting offered at that price?
So that so there are sometimes when that particular seller is a very, very, very high-end contractor, and he has willingly and knowingly overdeveloped his home for the neighborhood.
That's what I'm saying.
It is like beautiful, right? But nothing has ever sold anywhere close to that price per square foot. It's priced over $2,000 a square foot. The record for Bernal Heights, I think, is around $1,600. So it's very high. So we didn't put it on the market, but we think that, like, it's a number that he will sell, and he won't sell without it. He's not like, he's kind of putting it out there as, here's this product. It's a one-of-a-kind product. I mean, the doors on there are like $300,000 doors. Like, he has a faucet in the bathroom that's $2,000. Like, the bathroom tile is $200 a square foot. Like, it's stunning, right? But if you look at, like, say, a development like there's one on Church, right, that I think recently just got into contract yesterday for over list price, I want to say. The listing agent was a little bit cagey about it, but probably around 5.3-ish maybe is where it's in contract. And that one is a beautiful home done by a developer to sell. The untrained eye can't even tell the difference between the two products. But like the Bernal Heights home is, you know, like he spent $2,000 a square foot developing it, right? This one, the developer spent $600 a square foot, but the untrained eye won't be able to tell the difference.
So the neighborhood definitely matters.
The neighborhood matters, and I think that, you know, we know the seller is aware that the buyer for the Bernal Heights listing is a needle in a haystack. There's going to be someone who really, really wants to have that specialness about a home, but doesn't want to do it for themselves.
Do you feel like if that house would be more on the primary location of Bernal Heights, do you think it would have fared even better, even within?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
meaning on that near the flat area.
Yeah, near Cortland. I mean, location matters, right? So, you know, anything would always bring, you know, anytime you get a better location, then it's going to be easier to sell or bring the price up. Absolutely. Yeah. So did that answer the renovation question?
Yes.
Okay, and then,
One last question. on the
Yeah.
market, since we were on the market.
yeah.
How does typically the election market change or affect the housing
Great
market here?
question.
Because we are going to be in an election year next year,
Yes.
right?
Elections are very, depending on which side of the market you're on.
Right.
From the seller's perspective, they're very bad for the market. From the buyer's perspective, they're great for the market, but then buyers do that weird thing that I just told
Yeah.
you about, where they're like,
Right. No, I
like
get it.
things aren't selling. Maybe the market's going to keep going down. Why would I want to buy?
Right.
And we see that a lot in September in general.
Mm-hmm.
It's this, like, actually it ends up being, if you look back over history, a lot of the financial crises have happened in August or September, and then there's like budget battles that
Yeah.
happen at that time too. So like there'll be government shutdowns. Like I can remember specifically every government shutdown because I had listings on the market and they affected them.
Right. Yeah.
You know, when you would be like, what, government shutdown? I barely remember it, right? But it's like there'll be a pause where people don't buy for like 7 to 10 days, which affects the market.
Right.
And then just having a lot of uncertainty like will affect it for that time. So if you can not be everyone else, right?
Chill. Yeah.
And do understand, you know, that the market, like, it, you know, aside from like this 27% dip, which is not even substantial if you consider that we've seen 20% gains, if you see softness, grab stuff.
Right.
You know, take advantage of softness and don't wait for more softness.
Yeah.
Right? Don't be greedy.
But you're not suggesting that we wait until next September softness.
No, because
Right,
I
because
think
you'll
between
fill the
now
market
and next
then.
September, the market
Yes.
is like, I'm feeling it, like Michael's feeling
Yeah.
it. Like, and it's interesting, like when you are doing deals, it's like we definitely were feeling softness in the fall, and we got a lot of buyers into contract at
Got it.
great screaming deals, because we try not to let our buyers get into this, you know,
Yeah.
try it. But then, yeah, it's been March, like basically after, I think there was like SF Chronicle, New York Times did an article like in the same week, and our phone just started blowing up with buyers saying, we want to buy right this second. We want to buy right this second. And some of them, we were able to do, we just closed a listing over on Randall, beautiful place with great views, and it was on the market for a while post that article, and we got it in kind of that week. And even the agent was kind of like, yeah, and we did like quite a bit under asking. She's like, yeah, but now like I'm showing stuff, and I'm kind of like, well, yeah, but still been on the market for a long time, and this is a great offer, so I think you should ratify it. And they ended up ratifying it.
Is it the 2 unit?
On Randall. Yeah, it's really beautiful. You know the market.
You're actually out there.
Yeah.
Because there are only so many houses that
Yes.
new listings. It actually makes it easy to attract to.
Yes.
Because there are only so many
Yeah.
units out there.
So, and you had a question about like, should you switch to a broader neighborhood? Was that, you know, because you were like, I've been looking at Noe.
Because I'm a firm believer that real estate is all about the location, even within the same neighborhood. also want to see the potential. But then I think now Bruno Heights already, that's already counted towards the price. Because Bruno Heights still doesn't feel like anything like Noe Valley or Tech Heights, but everything on near the Portland Avenue, I think it's already, in the market, in the price. Considering the price. So, but I'm still hesitant to go outside of that prime neighborhoods. But then, eventually you have to, right?
Right.
That's how. That's.
Well, I think it just depends on. I think as a buyer, sometimes buyers make the mistake of thinking too much about investment because you are going to live in it.
Yeah.
Right. And and you are getting investment no matter what, but you should be happy where you live. So if you compromise too much on getting a much smaller place because you needed to stay in the area, will it appreciate better? Yes, but you'll also your realtor will probably be selling it for you in 2 years, and then you'll lose 7 or 8% by the time you pay for commission and transfer taxes and staging and all of this stuff. You'd be better off having bought a longer term place, even if it was in say a lesser neighborhood. What I see happen a lot of times with appreciation is, I don't know if this is a good analogy, you guys tell me, but I see it as a tidal wave, and you say Pack Heights is the center, and as the market goes up, the tidal wave starts moving out, and so because prices are rising, and so then the people in Pack Heights now are going to Noe Valley, and then Noe Valley is rising, and then the people from Noe Valley are going to Glen Park, and then Glen Park's rising, and now people from Glen Park are going to Sunnyside and Monterey Heights, and and then people from West Portal are going over to Ingleside and the Richmond. It's just. But then as it goes down, you'll see the tidal wave recede a little bit, right? And then people will it'll start over, right? So it's just the rise and fall of the tide. So the reality is who was you that asked about single family home versus condo?
Yeah.
So single family home appreciation versus condo appreciation is night and day. So, in San Francisco, because they're 7 by 7, there's just there's never going to be more single family homes, right? But condos, we could, have 200 and, not really here in the Mission, we wouldn't have 277. You could only, there's height limitations, but there's condos going up all the time. And if you look at the amount of inventory on the market for condos versus single family homes, you'll see the answer right there. So if we looked, what we would see is that the condo market has 9 months of inventory, and what that means is that if no more condos came on the market today, it would take 9 months to sell every condo that's on the market, and that doesn't even consider places like the Avery that don't have things on MLS. Right? There's tons of stuff, Mira, all these places, they're not on MLS, and they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of units. So, so that's a much softer market. Now, if you move away from South Beach, Soma area where all that concentration is, it's not as soft here. We did great on this condo and had 4 offers and went $300,000 over asking, right? Because this is a product that will never be built again. Right? It's a 1900s home, has a different feel, has a totally different buyer. The buyers looking at this are not looking to buy on Berry Street. So within markets, there's a lot of other markets. So there's kind of the new construction condo market, and then there's the Victorian condo market, and then, then there's the luxury condo market, and then there's the everyday condo market, and they all have the luxury condo market is really, really soft right now. Because there are so many great luxury options.
You're talking about luxury condo market, not luxury single.
Luxury condo market. So if I were choosing, I would definitely try to buy a single family home if I were thinking a lot about appreciation. But if I were topped out at say $2 million for Noe Valley, then I'm not going to get the single family home I want. So if I have to be in Noe, I'd probably be looking at condos. So yeah, I mean, I do think one of the things that you could do is look at, we're happy to pull this for you, past sales, and see okay, if my budget is $2 million or whatever it is, and I want 3 bedrooms, how many of those have sold in Noe, and what have they been? And that'll quickly determine for you. Like I had a client one time that was like, I want a 10,000 square foot lot in Louis Valley. I'm like, okay, well, let me pull the sales since forever. And guess what? There's never been one. But you know what? St. Francis Wood had 46 of them. So if you want to go over there, if that's really your criteria, then we should probably be looking at this other neighborhood. And I see that a lot where, you know, I had a buyer call me, was referred to me by another client, had been working with an agent for a really long time, and she said, I've been looking for 3 years and I haven't seen anything that I like. And I said, what price point are you looking in, what neighborhood? And she told me, I said, yeah, that's because you're looking, you can't afford what you want, you're looking in the wrong neighborhood, so you either need to raise your price or you need to, you know, lower your standards, right? So there's only like 2 levers, but no one had been frank enough to tell her that. And so in the meantime, you know, she's seeing hundreds and hundreds of homes thinking that there's just no inventory in San Francisco, wasting her time. So if you just go back, I mean, all the sales are there, does it exist or not? And then you can kind of get a quick reality check of like, oh, there were only 2, and so if I have to be here, then if I see one, I better go all in, right? And make sure I win it. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm gonna make sure I get all your guys' stuff. Okay, so how to be cash. Okay, so to talk about this, we have to go off Facebook Live because it's a private conversation, but if anybody wants to know, you can call me directly, but I don't want to be recorded for this one.